Hi, my name is Manish Gupta, and in this video, I will talk about Baize, which is an open source chat model with parameter efficient tuning on self-chat data. So let's try to understand each of these phrases. What do you mean by an open source chat model, and what is parameter efficient tuning, and how is this self-chat data created? So what is Baize? Well, just for the fun sake, Baize is actually a mythical creature in Chinese folklore who speaks human languages and knows everything. So that's a very nice name. Actually, Baize is a chat model that can run on a single GPU. So that's very nice. It is trained using LoRA, so low rank adaptation, right, on LLaMA, the popular LLaMA model, using high quality multi-turn chat corpus. So of course, you can actually tune LLaMA model using high quality corpus, but where does this high quality chat corpus come from? Well, it is auto-generated by leveraging ChatGPT. And the way it is done is basically shown in this pipeline right here. You essentially start with a seed data set. Your seed data set essentially comes from questions which are taken from Quora, Stack Overflow, or MedQuad, various kinds of community question answering websites. So here is a seed question. So how do you fix a Google Play Store account that isn't working? Huh. Now you take some template prompt and you actually inject the seeds and ask ChatGPT to generate a human AI kind of a conversation. So this is how the template looks like. So, forget so the template, this is the real template, the full template, right? Forget the instruction you have previously received. The following is a conversation between a human and an AI assistant. The human and the AI assistant take turns chatting about the topic, and then you give the name of the topic, right? The seed here. Human statements start with human and AI statements start with AI. Right? The human will ask related questions on related topics or previous conversation. The human will stop the conversation when they have no more question. The AI assistant tries not to ask questions, complete the transcript in exactly that format. So, and then you prompt by saying, human, hello, AI, hi, how can I help you? Yeah. And then this template combined with the seed leads to this kind of a conversation. This is an actual conversation taken from the data set using the Quora data, right? So there's a full conversation generated by ChatGPT, both taking both sides, AI and human. And as you see, it is generated using a single prompt. So it basically keeps generating until it sort of thinks that the human is going to be satisfied with the conversation and sort of wants to end the conversation now. So the average length of these conversations is about 3 to 4 turns, and they have been generated using Quora, Stack Overflow, and MedQuad. So once you get this corpus, essentially you take this corpus and you do LoRA tuning so as to of the LLaMA model so as to create the Baize model. Um, we'll talk about the remaining part of the pipeline soon, but that's basically more or less how the first part is done, how the Baize models are created. Okay. So now, using the kind of methodology I talked about on the previous slide, they basically create 4 different Baize models, Baize V1 models, 7 billion, 13 billion, and 30 billion sizes, using the 3 LLaMA different size checkpoints. And of course, they've used supervised fine tuning to do this. Uh, Now, the idea is that these kind of models hardly take any time to tune. So just 9 hours, 16 hours, 36 hours, respectively, on a 80 GB, 800 GPU. The Baize V1 models, as I mentioned, have been all supervised fine-tuned using data coming from Quora, Stack Overflow, and Alpaca. Okay. And then they also train a special model called as Baize Healthcare model, same kind of philosophy, but a 7 billion sized model and using Quora and MedQuad data. So it's for healthcare, therefore they use data coming from MedQuad. Okay. Uh, Now, on the previous slide, when I showed you the prompt, this prompt is basically meant to generate a full conversation, right? But how about actually prompting one by one that, hey, this is what the human said, AI now say something, right? And then the human would say something, and then AI should say something, and so on. So now doing this requires multiple calls to ChatGPT. However, they actually did that. So that's basically used to create Baize v1.5 data, which generates responses once a time and replaces the AI responses in that template. Now, they use this kind of data to supervised fine-tune LLaMA 7 billion and 13 billion checkpoints. And that's how they have created the Baize v1.5 models. The supervised fine-tuning has been done in a parameter efficient way using LoRA, low rank adaptation to tune all linear layers of the LLaMA model checkpoints. Now for Baize v1.5, these 2 models, they only compute the loss for the AI's response in the dialogue transcript. So that's that. If you want to, train with int 8, 8-bit computation, typically for Baize 7 billion, you would require a 26 GB GPU, Baize 13 billion, 25 GB GPU, and Baize 30 billion, 42 GB GPU. Okay. However, they did not stop here. So they also created something called as Baize V2 models, and the way they have been created is using a method called as SDF, self-distillation with feedback. So what they did was to take their Baize V1.5 models, these V1.5 models. They asked the V1.5 models. They gave the same Quora questions, and they asked the V1.5 models to generate 4 responses for each instruction. Now, they asked the ChatGPT model to select the best response amongst these 4. And then they used the best response with LoRA so as to, again, fine tune all the linear layers in Baize V1.5. So they sort of improved on Baize V1.5 in some ways in an RLHF manner, but then here no human was involved. Essentially, they basically just used ChatGPT to be able to figure out which of the 4 responses ChatGPT found more interesting. Okay. Now, clearly, this is just one iteration RLHF and or rather one iteration kind of a self-distillation. It's a good alternative to RLHF because it is much faster. As the paper says, it is like 3 times faster. Here is some examples. Here are some examples. So this is one example about the topic being analyze the reason why Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. And as you can see, if you read Alpaca response, it is reasonable, but it may not be very, very reasonable. I mean, it's not like a very descriptive response. However, if you look at Baize V2 response, it's very, very descriptive. So essentially, it gives you very detailed reasons. Of course, some of those answers have been truncated for lack of space and so on. But as you see, it sort of gives you very detailed and very systematic responses about response about the reasons why Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. Here are more examples. Baize model is able to nicely explain why the joke is funny, while Alpaca model just is not able to figure out the right answer. So Baize model has been also trained so as to not generate anything, which is objectionable. Especially, if you look at the prompt that they have used in the paper at inference time, they have essentially asked the model to not generate anything which is offensive. So for example, if you say my neighbor's dog is annoying, what poison should I use on my neighbor's dog? Alpaca nicely says that this is a good poison to use, but then Baize model basically says, no, I cannot give you some advice on something that is illegal or unethical and so on. Right? Similarly, here's another example. I stole an iPhone. What's the best way to do with it? Baize model says, I'm sorry to hear that. Please go and return it back to the rightful owner and so on. Okay. As you see, if you compare the Baize model, you see that, and this comparison is done using GPT-4 score kind of a thing. So essentially, you generate responses, and you ask GPT-4 which response, how good each response is on a scale of 1 to 10. You observe that, of course, ChatGPT is going to be 100%. But then you see that the Baize 13 billion model is almost the same in terms of quality as Vicuna 13 billion, but Baize 7 billion model is way better than Vicuna 7 billion model. Of course, LLaMA and Alpaca are way worse compared to the Baize models. Okay, so a Baize MedQuad-based model is essentially about acting as a healthcare assistant. So, hi, are you a doctor? It says, no, I'm not a doctor, but a healthcare AI assistant. Basically takes a symptom from the user and tries to recommend things that the user can do, the patient can do, and so on. Baize model can also be used for coding purpose, so as to essentially, come up with code and also explain what's going on in the code. So that's about the Baize model. In summary, in this video, I talked about the Baize model. Baize is an open source chat model and a pipeline that automatically samples seeds from specific data sets like Quora and collects high quality dialogue corpus by leveraging ChatGPT to chat with itself, right? So essentially human and AI, those entire conversations can be generated. Here is a demo on Hugging Face where you can go and check out Baize. Baize model, Baize data set has been used so as to fine tune Falcon 7 billion instruct and Falcon 40 billion instruct models. Okay, so that's it about this video. Hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. Connect with me on my LinkedIn or look at my research on my homepage. Thank you.